Well, hello. This is about half hour late than what I was planning because I missed one of the settings. I thought that when I clicked in the streaming, it was like automatically starting to record. And I just noticed that there is a button in the corner that said record that I never pressed on. So I've just been talking for half an hour to myself, apparently. So we're going to start this over again, but I just need to get some water to moisten my throat here. Well, welcome to my Q&A live session, which is ending up at 3 o'clock instead of 2:30 like I had intended. So I'm going to talk a little bit about challenges, some of the challenges that we could face, a little bit about my story, and then I'll see if at this point anybody decides to come on for questions. So if you do see this and you do have any questions that you'd like to ask, just put them in the comments and I will answer them as they show up. So I'm going to just share a little bit about my journey, my experience, and why I decided to get involved in this digital marketing business. When in 2018, I got laid off from a corporate job that I was in. Now, I had not been working in a corporate job for my entire work life. I did have a stint back in early 2000 where I was doing a pet sitting business. But internet wasn't as big a thing back then, and I really didn't have much knowledge on how to utilize it. I had a website and an email, and that was pretty much it. Beyond that, I didn't really know how I could really use it for anything more. So I didn't really know how to grow my business effectively, and I ended up choosing to close it after about 5 years, and I went back into the corporate world. But having had a taste of being able to have that flexibility in my time, to create my own schedule, to have the freedom to make the choices and decisions that I felt were best for me, it made it a little more challenging to go back into the corporate world. And as part of my personal growth journey, I started from being basically very much like a pushover, very much a people pleaser, doing things that people wanted me to do just to get approval. I'm happy. And that just really doesn't work. It's not a healthy way to live. At my core, I didn't want to be a rule follower that, I just blindly did whatever I was told without question, without any concern for my own well-being. But it took me a while, I think, to really recognize that. I needed to be free to be myself. And when I went back into the corporate world and, the last job that I had, as I was working in that job, I was starting to see more and more and more that I was feeling resistance and that it was restricting me from being who I really was. So I got laid off from that job in 2018. And I really had no desire to go back into this structured and inflexible environment. I didn't want to be told, oh, you have to start at this time and you have to work at this time and this is when you can take your breaks and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I wanted to be able to make those choices for myself. And the longer that I stayed in this environment, the more I found that it was getting more difficult for me to make a different choice, because when you are not aligned with something for a long period of time, it starts to drain you. It drains you physically, it drains you spiritually, it drains you emotionally, you know, and I was getting more and more burnt out. And even though when I was in the job, I knew I didn't want to stay there, I was struggling to apply for other jobs. I wasn't really finding anything that spoke to me. And, you know, the more tired I became, the more difficult it was to do things that actually supported me, that nourished my soul, that nourished my well-being. So being laid off was kind of, in some ways, a breath of fresh air, but it was also very scary because I didn't know what I was going to do next. And I did ultimately start my own business, and I've been doing that for the last few years, but there's so much learning involved with starting a business, especially when you don't have step-by-step guidance and you're basically trying to figure out, okay, what should I do now? What should I do next? What should I do next? What should I do next? Because there's all of these different ideas that are available on the internet. And it can be like that, I don't know, like squirrel syndrome. It's like, oh, that seems like a good idea. Oh, that seems like a good idea. Oh, that seems like a good idea. And so I've been all over the place, and, you know, getting myself onto paths that were not the most supportive for me. So when I found out about this program, I found out about it through a Facebook friend, and she was describing her experience with this program and how it's making a difference in her life. And it sounded intriguing to me, and it just sounded like it could be a possible option for what I had been looking for. And I was still a little unsure about it because, you know, there is a lot of scams out there, and I know there is. Like, even in the job world, there's scams. You know, I applied for some scams for part-time jobs, and, you know, the scams are just running rampant. So it can be really challenging to figure out what's real and what's not. I was more open, I think, because of the fact that she was a Facebook friend and not just, it wasn't just some ad or, some random post that I happened to come across or something like that. So I expressed that I was still a little unsure, and she invited me to one of the webinars. And that just really made a difference for me, because it showed real people, it showed their experiences, like they were actually talking live about their experiences. And this was multiple people. So this was not AI that was like, planned, oh, we're just going to have this fake AI person say this, that, or the other thing. It was like, it was multiple people, and you could tell that they were real. And I really liked the idea of the step-by-step process to follow. And I thought, I can do this. This seems very real. This seems very doable. So anyways, that's why I got involved in this program. So I want to ask some questions for you that maybe you can put in the comments later on what your answers are, or at least just consider them. My throat's getting dry. Where are you currently at in your life? Are you feeling stuck in a job just so that you can pay your bills? Maybe are you living paycheck to paycheck because living expenses are higher than what you're actually earning? Because, I think most jobs out there these days, the living wage or the salary is not meeting the living expenses that people need. Especially with the prices of everything going up. Like groceries are so pricey now. So even trying to just afford quality groceries can be a real challenge. Are you doing work that you don't particularly enjoy? And maybe it's supporting somebody else's vision, somebody else's dream that you don't even really align with. Like for myself, I was working in a job that was connected with the oil and gas industry, which is pretty common for Alberta. But I have no interest in oil and gas. I mean, my interest goes as far as where it's needed in order to make things operate. But that's about as far as it goes. I didn't really connect with the company's vision, the company's values, or anything like that. So I was doing a job just for the paycheck. Maybe you're struggling to find time to do things that are meaningful to you. When you're coming home and you're feeling exhausted at the end of the day, that all you have the energy for is to make a little bit of food and plop yourself in front of the TV. And maybe on the weekend, you might do a little bit that might be meaningful to you. But, oftentimes in those situations, the weekend is about running the errands, doing cleaning and getting groceries and all of that kind of stuff, that you're still pretty limited in doing the things that are meaningful to you. Are you feeling challenged to be able to spend quality time with your loved ones? Maybe your pets. You know, a lot of us love our pets. Most of us love our pets. But we may not be able to spend the quality time with them that we would like and that they deserve. You know, being able to provide enough exercise, enough enrichment activity, enough attention. Or maybe you have your own business like I have, and you work for yourself, but things are just not quite where you had hoped they would be. You know, there's lots of different reasons why somebody might potentially want to consider doing this type of business. These are just some of them. And these were the ones that kind of connect more with where I am and where I was. So I haven't had any questions, which I'm not really surprised about, considering my goof in so I'm going to just talk a bit about some challenges and ways how they might be able to be addressed. And hopefully this will help you as well. And if any questions come in while I'm talking about this, then I will switch to answering the question. So one of the challenges that people can face in almost anything is information overload. You know, with the internet at our fingertips, with so much information on the internet, it is so easy to get information overload. And there is so many different ideas, so many different opinions, that it can be very difficult to know, who do you believe? Who do you trust? What resonates with you? You know, because there could be multiple, there's always multiple ways to do something. There's always more than one way to do something. And there's always going to be people saying, oh, this is the secret. This is the number one thing you need to do, you know, and all of that. And that's usually not the case. There are so many things that have to be taken into consideration when we're doing something. And with the different methods, it's like all the different methods could be good in their own way, but we have to find what speaks to us, what resonates with us. And also, do we even connect with the person that is sharing it? Because that connection is important. And on my journey with the business that I have been doing up till now, with the Animal Files podcast and the animal pet education that I am involved in, you know, I was coming across all different kinds of information, all different kinds of ideas. And it was often like squirrel syndrome. Or I think there's like another word that's not coming to me. It's like where you sort of see these different ideas and you're like, oh, this, oh, that, oh, this, oh, that. And you just get excited about these different ideas, because when you don't know anything and you don't really have the experience, everything sounds like it could be a good possibility. And it can be very easy to get off track because you're sort of trying to do all these different things, and you can get overwhelmed, you can get overloaded, and become very unfocused, because you just don't know what path to take, and you're trying to do all these different multiple paths. And that's what I really like about this program that I'm in, because before I even decided to go into it, it showed me the outline, the step-by-step process of what's involved. So I knew what I was going to be learning, what I was going to be gaining from doing this program. And I thought, wow, this is very helpful. This is going to help keep me focused and help me to build on my skills. So I start with the basics, and then I build on those as I go along. And it's very, very step by step. It's like, it's not skipping things. Sometimes when you take a program, you learn something, there could be like a jump from here to here, and you're kind of like, well, how did you get from here to here? Because whoever put it together forgets that process of how they got from there to there, so then they don't include that. Have you ever noticed that? So there's a couple of things to consider. Is one, seeing if you can find a reliable source and a reliable mentor that can help take you through that step-by-step process, and be able to see what the process is before you make any decisions. It's a really good idea to be able to see the process and even be able to get questions answered before you make a decision. And that's another thing that I really like about these webinars that happens in my community, is that it's an opportunity to ask whatever questions you might have, any resignations you might have, any doubts, any concerns that you might have. These can all be addressed. Or any maybe missing information that you are unsure about. And then I'm going to just do one more challenge, and then I will wrap this up. Because I still haven't seen any questions. So again, I don't know if I said this already or not, but if I haven't, if you have any questions when you watch the replay of this, please put them in the comments, and I will address them in future videos or future posts. So another challenge that can occur in a business like this, or any business, is distractions and time management. And this can even happen in the job world too, actually. But with the use of our phones, that's one of the biggest distractions that we can have, with all the different notifications and dings and chirps and all of that. And some of you might be really attached to your social media and want to constantly be checking it. So when when we're doing that, it can create challenges in being productive. So for myself, I keep my phone on mute, and the vibration is off as well. So when a notification comes in, I don't know until I go and intentionally look at my phone. And some of you might be saying, oh, well, what, you might be missing something important. Well, my view is that unless I'm expecting a call or expecting a message, I don't think anything is that important. You know, for myself, if I were to send a message to somebody, I don't expect them to respond within the next 5 minutes. And if I'm needing an answer that soon, then that's probably poor planning on my part. I probably would have been able to send a message earlier. Or maybe what it is that I'm wanting an answer on isn't as important as I'm making it out to be. Few things are as important as we really think it is, because, you know, I don't feel like I should expect anybody to drop what they're doing in order to make me a priority. So, you know, I feel like messages and things like that can wait until I set aside a time to check it. You know, and so on that note, with time management, I also feel like when we try to work on something for too long a period of time, that leads to more distractions in our thoughts, particularly. Because we start to lose our focus, and we can have these thoughts of, oh, I should check on this, or, oh, I'm going to do this. It's only going to take me a moment. I'm going to just do that, and I want to do it before I forget. Or, you know, we can have multiple things like that that can really add up. And I'm guilty of this as well. And I've thought to myself, it's like, oh, when I have those kinds of thoughts, I should have a notepad that I can jot those down so that when I go and take my break, or take or finish what I'm trying to focus on, that I have it written down and like, oh yeah, right, okay, I need to take that action. And I try to set my work times for 30 to 40 minutes, well, 45 minutes at the most, in sessions, so that I'm focused on one thing for that time period. And I use a timer usually when I try to when I remember. I was doing well at it, and then I kind of got away from it. I'm trying to get back into it again, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I can start working on something and I can get caught up in it, and next thing I know, I'm sitting for 2 hours, and then I'm like, why do I feel so tired, and why do I feel so sore and stiff? Well, because I didn't move for 2 hours. So I think setting a time and then taking a break where you actually get up and move, and you do something for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or maybe sometimes longer, because if I go for a walk, that might take me 20 to 30 minutes for going for a walk. But that gives you that mental break, that gives you that physical break. And, you know, my butt gets sore if I'm sitting for too long as well. So sometimes I'll just incorporate just a little bit of physical movement in a minute or 2 minute break. So it's important to take care of our physical well-being, mental well-being, you know, and all of that when we're trying to do these businesses, this type of business, because it's going to ultimately support us. If we focus too much on the doing, then that can lead to challenges, and we end up pushing more than we need. I think that's another thing. I think we push too much in our society instead of allowing. But that's another topic. So, yeah, so those are the two challenges I'm addressing today. And if you've got any comments or questions or anything like that on those, please drop them in the comment section. And I invite you to follow me if you would like to see more videos where I'm sharing insights and tips and my journey. Or if you're on YouTube, to subscribe. And I'm hoping to do a free, or not a free, I'm hoping to do a monthly Q&A session going forward. That's my aim anyways. And now that I've done this streaming once, now I know now I can remember to push that record button. And if you feel ready to explore this blueprint and this program that I'm involved in, you can go to www.soulfulwealthsystem.ca. So until my next video or my next Q&A, take care.